It goes without saying that the cryptocurrency exchange has been making waves over the last few years, and this is no surprise considering the incredible returns that can be made from the investment scheme. But if you've been thinking of joining the trend, stay right where you are, as we're about to explore the headlines you should be aware of. Number 1. The hack and partial return of Poly Network funds. Our first story has to do with one of the biggest cyber heists in the history of cryptocurrency exchange, in which a hacker that remains unnamed decided to launch a massive attack against a firm by the name of Poly Network. For those of you who don't know, Poly Network is a decentralized platform similar to Coinbase and Ethereum, which allows for the facilitation of peer-to-peer transactions. In other words, it's through Poly Network that clients are able to sell, buy, and exchange cryptocurrencies with one another. So it goes without saying that the firm has quite a few altcoins on standby for those very scenarios. This has, however, left the firm vulnerable to skilled hackers who went on to rob the firm of approximately $613 million worth of crypto. This massive cyber heist has once more made investors aware of the risk that comes with playing the cryptocurrency exchange. With altcoins and the blockchain technology, they're based on being able to be taken by those who are considered to be far more technically sound. The activity has also shown just how vulnerable a firm such as Poly Network was to an attack such as this, which was apparently the intention of the hacker, who responded that he did so for the fun of it. This isn't the whole story though. You see, as it turns out, the hacker had actually published a 3-page question and answer session on one of the blockchains of the firm, highlighting the vulnerabilities that could be found in the Poly Network software being used. Then, out of fear that the firm would make subtle changes without letting their clientele know just how close they'd been to a breach, the hacker decided to steal a number of tokens so that the customers didn't go uninformed. With such a massive amount of funds missing from Poly Network, they had no option but to take this business to theirs to Twitter, where they begged for the hacker to return the tokens that had been taken. As of right now, around $260 million worth of the tokens have been returned by the hacker, with the rest expected to be returned over the next few days. The identity of the hacker remains unknown and will most likely stay this way for the foreseeable future. But there's no doubt that the intention was never to use the tokens that had been stolen. In fact, Tom Robinson of Elliptic fame has spoken up on this issue, stating that the return of the money is no doubt going to take place, considering how much of a headache the laundering of such a large amount of crypto can be. This is, after all, one of the plus points of using digital currency. Each specific token has a particular mark that can be tracked with, making the use of stolen funds next to impossible. In other words, we're talking about a cyber heist here that was aimed at the overall improvement of the Poly Network crypto platform, and the firm is just lucky that our resident hacker got to the funds before a more devious and like-minded individual was able to do the same. Otherwise, there's no knowing whether the funds would have been returned or not. That being said, the firm's still awaiting the return of around $269 million worth of Ethereum tokens, as well as about $84 million worth of Polygon tokens. In fact, approximately $353 million worth of token are still outstanding, which means that Poly Network is still sweating over whether every token is going to be returned or not. There's no doubt that the hacker deserves at least some remuneration for his hard work, but as stated by Robinson, this shouldn't come in the form of stolen crypto, which is incredibly difficult to clean. That being said, some have put forward the theory that this hacker was actually not prompted by vulnerabilities, but money instead. There's no evidence for this, obviously, but it wouldn't be surprising if a rival platform did pay for the use of his services. Former clients of Poly Network aren't feeling incredibly safe using the platform anymore, after all, and have to find other platforms to make their home as a result. But as we mentioned earlier, this is nothing but conjecture at the moment. Last but not least, next to no information has been released about where Poly Network as a firm is actually based. So we've been unable to dig up any information on whether the police of the region are investigating the cyber attack. And when asked by Al Jazeera to comment on the topic, Poly Network ignored all requests, leaving us all in the dark. Not exactly the best of moves considering how clients are already feeling on edge. Number 2, things are looking up for Bitcoin. But this isn't the only reason that the cryptocurrency exchange has been in the news over the past few days, as Bitcoin investors finally have some good news after a while. You see, the altcoin has fallen on some tough times ever since Elon Musk stated that Tesla would no longer be accepting payment in the form of Bitcoin due to the effects that Bitcoin mining was having on the environment. For those of you who don't know, Bitcoin mining is dependent on vast amounts of electricity, with many mining corporations relying on energy produced from non-renewable sources. Unlawful mining operations have also been known to steal the electricity of innocents in the region to allow for the mining of Bitcoin, resulting in a massive amount of power cuts. As such, illegitimate mining operations were attacked by police in China and Indonesia, causing the value of Bitcoin to start decreasing since it hit its all-time high earlier this year. But now that legitimate miners have turned their attention towards the making of Bitcoin mining more environmentally friendly by using renewable energy, Bitcoin appears to be making a proper name for itself once more. In fact, the altcoin topped $48,000 per token over the last weekend, which is its highest level since May of this year. Remember, cryptocurrencies have a number of reasons for increases and decreases to their values, but at the very core of the investment scheme is the buying of the particular crypto. The more people who buy into Bitcoin, the more Bitcoin will be worth in value. There are, of course, other factors such as global recognition and usability, which affect the overall value of the coin. But there's no doubt that massive sell-offs decreased the value of Bitcoin back in June. Every bear market is followed by a bull market, though, which is what we appear to be seeing in Bitcoin now. The only question that remains is whether the altcoin will be able to reach a value of more than $64,000 per token, which is the highest value that it has ever reached. And as we're well aware of now, a rise in Bitcoin often results in the general rise of cryptocurrencies on the exchange. Bitcoin is the father of all cryptos after all. And as it turns out, this current rise has resulted in the total value of the market being pushed up to a value of around $2 trillion, which is great news for investors. Jihan Xu, the founder of the cryptocurrency-focused venture capital firm Kinetic Capital, has had a bit to say on this general increase and future of Bitcoin. According to him, while Bitcoin is likely to surge to around $55,000 per coin in the weeks to come, investors shouldn't get too trigger happy. We should be expecting a pretty significant pullback in the coming months so that balance can be struck between what the worth currently is and what it was back in April. That being said, thinking that Bitcoin will hit a value of over $100,000 per token by next year is not unfounded. So if you want to invest in Bitcoin, do so while you still can. Number 3, the founder of Dogecoin speaks out. This was about the only good news for cryptocurrencies in general, though, with our final story coming off of a massive kick to the head of investors in the market. We are, of course, referring to the statements made by co-founder of Dogecoin, Jackson Palmer, who surprisingly had surprising things to say about cryptos in general. Remember, Dogecoin was essentially created to parody Bitcoin, but went on to make investors a lot of money due to the fact that it was a meme coin based on interest culture that made investing fun. Suffice to say, Palmer knew precisely what to do to make Dogecoin so incredibly popular, with his opinion being respected by a great many on the scene for this very reason. So when he was asked in an interview about what he thinks of the cryptocurrency exchange that has arisen over the past few years, he surprised fans by responding as follows. After years of studying it, I believe that cryptocurrency is an inherently right-wing, hyper-capitalist technology built primarily to amplify the wealth of its proponents through a combination of tax avoidance, diminished regulatory oversight, and artificially enforced scarcity. The cult of cryptocurrency has become akin to a get-rich-quick funnel and is almost purpose-built to make the funnel profiteering more efficient for those at the top and less safeguarded for the vulnerable. And Palmer has most certainly hit the nail on the head with this statement. We now find ourselves in a strange situation where new investors are investing based on what their favorite YouTubers and influencers have said, as opposed to actually investigating the worth of those cryptos themselves. Goes without saying that this results in a market being dominated by the wealthy who are able to get rich quick by sacrificing their followers with advice that leads to their downfall. But what do you think of the newest crypto headlines? Be sure to let us know in the comments section down below.